welcome to the Sunday morning meditation service. We're going to be doing a chant that is a call and response, and I'll sing a line, and then I'll go like this, and Larry will be singing with you. And it's so great to every day meditate at least 10, 12 minutes, and that starts your day or before you go to sleep. You will see a change in your consciousness. The more you do it, you will be a different person. People will say, "What happened to you?" And you just know that you have this glow that has you connected to the divine all the time. It's like you see from up here now instead of down here as a ping pong ball that's reacting to everything that happens in your life. You now are above it. You actually see differently. And that's why meditation is so important. Prayer is great too. After the end of meditation, then you send out prayers to people that are in need. But you're now in a state of being part of the divine when you send those prayers out. So what you're doing this morning is what is essential to your life. It is your real food. The eating of the food, that's just for the flesh body. But this is the food of life. Okay, so let's do a call and response meditation. You are in the wind.
You are in the wind.
In each twinkling star. You are all around me.
You are all around me.
You are never far.
You are never far.
And my soul keeps singing.
And my soul keeps singing.
Oh, divine, all I want is you.
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 Oh, divine, all I want.
Oh, divine, all I want
Is you.
is you.
You are in the desert.
You are in the desert.
You are in the sea.
You are in the sea.
Dancing in the grasses.
Dancing in the grasses.
Whispering in each tree.
Whispering in each tree.
And my soul keeps singing.
And my soul keeps singing.
Oh, divine, all I want is you.
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 Oh, divine, all I want.
Oh, divine, all I want
laughing in each brook.
Laughing in each brook.
You are peeping at me.
You are peeping at me.
Everywhere I look.
Everywhere I look.
And my soul keeps singing.
And my soul keeps singing.
Oh, divine, all I want is you.
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 Oh, divine, all I want.
Oh, divine, all I want
Is you.
is you.
I can feel your presence.
I can feel your presence.
Where each pathway bends.
Where each pathway bends.
I can see you smiling.
I can see you smiling
Through the eyes of friends.
through the eyes of friends.
And my soul keeps singing.
And my soul keeps singing.
Oh, divine, all I want is you.
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 Oh, divine, all I want.
Oh, divine, all I want
Is you.
is you.
I can feel your presence.
I can feel your presence.
Where each pathway bends.
Where each pathway bends.
I can see you smiling.
I can see you smiling
Through the eyes of friends.
through the eyes of friends.
And my soul keeps singing.
And my soul keeps singing.
Oh, divine, all I want is you.
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 Oh, divine, all I want
Oh, divine, all I want
is you.
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 people short. Last Sunday I said, if I can get 40 people to show up in person, I will reveal to you the most amazing shirt you have ever seen. It's actually a miracle shirt, but you're 10 people short. Yeah, so, but for all of you people that did show up, you had the faith to show up, for all of you, I'm going to give all of them out there watching it on the screen another chance. So next week, again, if I get 40 people here, next week in person, I will reveal to you the most amazing shirt you have ever seen, and it is a miracle shirt, and I'll prove it to you. I will prove it to you. You do get a special treat today because I am wearing these special socks which match my guru's shirt and pants. Do you know that the whole object of the spiritual teaching in unity is to move people from judging by appearances to opening their awareness to the refined consciousness of insight of life? So, but I know that you just don't make a leap like that. You know, you still, for a little while, you still judge somewhat by appearances. That's why I do these things. Okay, well, we've been at this for 10 weeks now. Delving into the teachings that would help us awaken. And that particular word, awaken, or awakening, is used quite a bit by master teacher Eckhart Tolle. The inference is, and he's not alone in making this particular inference, that human beings are, for the most part, asleep. They're sleepwalking. They're living in a sleep state. They have all kinds of problems, conflicts, consternation, fears, concerns, worries, have no idea whatsoever about the meaning of life. So there needs to be some kind of an awakening in consciousness. And that's really what Eckhart Tolle's work is all about, the masters down through the ages, and even the master of all masters, Jesus Christ. It's about awakening the awareness so that one can live a life truly worth living. Imagine being able to live from insight and to never have another day of fear or worry, and to understand the meaning of life. So, today, because it's our 10th class, and I thought it'd be a good idea to let you hear at least the basic principle directly from the master, Eckhart Tolle. So can we have this video, please?
Simply a field of awareness, which is what you are. And the story that you have been telling yourself in the head of who you are becomes unimportant. It does not give you an identity anymore. You don't derive your sense of self anymore from the story in the head, which is accumulated experiences, accumulated knowledge, and a sense of self derived from that accumulation. Content of the mind. And every experience is content. Everything that happens to you, some experiences become stored up, they become part of the accumulation, and they strengthen the sense of self. They are accumulated to enhance the sense of self. So in the when you live in that way, from a fictitious sense of self, you're always looking for things to enhance your sense of self, to strengthen it or to protect it, that sense of me. Because some of the content you might lose, or you want to add to who you are. Not the sense of not being complete is an essential ingredient of the fictitious sense of self. Everybody has that. And everybody interprets that as a personal problem. That very sense of not being complete becomes part of who you are and who you're striving to be. Haven't arrived yet. And even those people who are being told by the world that they have arrived have the feeling that they haven't arrived yet. And there's something wrong with the world. Must have gotten it wrong. They're telling me that I have made it, and I can feel that I haven't made it. And then you read about people who have everything, fame and fortune and good looks, and then they can't stop drinking, and they need to go from one psychiatrist to another. Have they made it? And in our culture, they are shown as examples of you too can achieve that. And everybody swallows that. And then the message that is there in the culture is that, yes, you can make it, because look at those people, they made it. If you meet them, you'll realize that they haven't made it at all. And some of them actually will come, they read the book. There are some famous people who loved The Power of Now because they saw very clearly that what the world was telling them was not true, otherwise they would never have read it. What for? If you've made it, you don't need spiritual transformation. So it is wonderful, a few of those people who have achieved all possible worldly success realize that's not it either, and I still don't know, basically, who I am, and I wake up in the middle of the night in a state of dread and anxiety, and my relationships are continuously in chaos. And so to see that the attempt to complete yourself, to find a more complete and more fulfilled sense of self on the level of the story, that attempt is futile. Because on the level of the story that you're telling yourself in the head of who you are, you're not going to make it. No story has a happy ending. A few false happy endings, such as a wedding, that.
So the definition of the mind-made self is not wrong. It's not bad. It's not evil. It's simply limited. In other words, it's like riding a bicycle through life and not ever having taken off the training wheels and wondering why it is still so difficult to get ahead. And because the whole concept of getting ahead of anything is the mind-made self, the me. There's the assumption that comes from the illusion of separation projected by the idea of there being a separate mind-made me and everything else that is not me. There is that illusion. And so we actually suppose that all that we see outside of ourselves arises separate from ourselves, separate from me. But the truth is, it rises with you. You are still one with it all. The world you are living in rises moment to moment to moment in relationship to your mind. What is in your mind, what you believe, what you expect. That is the world you are living in. And you're not living in the same world as anyone else. You may be living in a world close to that partner you have, but not exactly the same. Because each person is rising in his or her own beliefs about life at this point. And such people do not see the oneness of everything rising as one. And so it seems like there's so many things that are alien, separate from. So each person, what that person thinks about what he or she looks upon determines how they feel and their emotions and how they deal with life. So there needs to be an awakening from that illusionary definition of life. And that's all Eckhart Tolle is speaking about here. And because the one thing in this physical world you cannot get too much of is balance. It's not that we eradicate the idea of this mind-made self. It becomes subjugated to the overall awareness of one. It still lives, it carries on its life, it participates in all the activities of life, but it no longer perceives itself in terms of being a separate body, mind in a world of separate others in which things are happening to it instead of with it. That's why Tolle can teach that we should embrace the now moment, because it is the only real moment. Every moment we're rising with is the real moment for us at that point. And the only thing alien about it is our illusion that there's something separate and apart that's alien. And we don't know how to heal our experience. But we need the balance. We don't eradicate the mind-made me and its quest for its needs in the world. We simply transform the awareness around it. And so that's what this is all about, this whole experience which some people refer to as religion. And of course, religion starts with a huge divide between the life that is being lived and the heaven that is being sought. So you have religion that has the promises and the whole, religious ideas that go with a heaven and a God separate and apart. And people spend lives praying for things to change and be better, only to be disappointed over and over again. Because at some point, one has to enter into a truth that is evidently present in all times, in all places. Even the religious, fundamental religions say God is omnipresent. And they say God is love. But then we wonder why we don't have love and why we don't have harmony in our relationships and why everything seems so difficult. Well, this divine intelligence is love, is omnipresent in every moment, present and available. But each person's thinking from their limited mind-made self-concept and definition of life is in opposition to that reality. not willing to flow with, understand it, serve it, roll with it, instead of exploit it, figure it out, use it, get ahead of it. So you see the difference between our initial state of consciousness in the world, where we're pursuing all of those things we want on a physical level to make ourselves happy and be in harmony. All of that, you see, ultimately has to be transcended. So you see, it's all about getting, wanting, grasping, needing, fearing not what will happen, fearing you won't get what you want, disappointed when you do, that it didn't play out the way you wanted it to. But it's all about getting. Now look, just listen to this. When the one way into the consciousness of God in every present moment is through letting go. Not wanting, not grasping, not needing, not fearing, not contriving, not manipulating, not even planning. Oh my God, not planning. Not planning. Can you imagine how free and beautiful one's experience is when one has only the awareness of being one with the guiding moment that is rising in harmony with you. You blessing it, it blessing you. And all of your needs being met. Where is that? That would have to be defined as heaven. And it is here in the midst of you, as Jesus said it is. But we have to transcend what we have become so used to, which is really, there's this separate me that I have to be aware of and take care of and feed and nurture and carry on with, but I'm missing the point that too much of that is conflict-oriented. So here's a focused idea that needs to be understood. This is where balance is found. Can we have this next overhead, please? This is Candace. I don't have a last name. She didn't give one, doesn't want one to be said. She has written a book called One Simple Change. When the focus of the mind is placed on the made-up me, then our thoughts, emotions, speech, and activities will be directed to our own needs and our striving to be good, comfortable, successful, kind, and happy. For in the second approach to the use of the mind, the focus is placed on one simple change, relaxing the mind. Rather than striving after one's needs, becoming peace. She could have added, by becoming present. Relaxing the mind. And it doesn't require an hour of forced meditation. It requires a desire to pause and remember God is one, and that every moment is really sacred. And it is all part of God. And as I operate from a sacred point of view, I'm able to forgive immediately. I'm able to bless immediately. I'm able to be at peace immediately. My desires and wants and needs to get things to happen according to the future and make it work so it works my life better, all of that is kind of let go. I live now in this present beautiful moment. I'm one with everything I look upon. And I'm beginning to understand how God lives through everything, including me, without my mind-made, separate, desperate self. Course in Miracles will go on to speak in these terms. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? You can read this in the old text, page 553. That's not... See, my writing is so bad, sometimes it's this beautiful lady that does these overheads. She types them. My writing sometimes is so scribbled. That's actually page 533, paragraph 2. In quietness are all things answered, and is every problem quietly resolved. In conflict, there can be no answer and no resolution, for its purpose is to make no resolution possible and to ensure no answer will be plain. A problem set in conflict has no answer, for it is seen in different ways, and what would be an answer from one point of view is not an answer from another point of view. You are in conflict. Thus, it must be clear you cannot answer anything at all, for conflict has no limited effects. Yet if God gave an answer, there must be a way in which your problems are resolved, for what He wills already has been done. Therefore, God must have given you a way of reaching to another state of mind in which the answer is already there. Such is the holy instant. I'm not going to go through this whole thing again, but you can see what it is saying. As long as we're operating in this mind-made self, which is simply a collection of my personal beliefs, desires, demands, and fears, all being projected out and creating the world I see. But I'm supposing that everybody's seeing the same world, and they're not. So there's a lot of conflict all the time. And that's what it's all about, just plain conflict back and forth. But how do we resolve that? God must have given us a way of moving to another state of mind in which the answer is already there. And that's what you're doing here at Unity. You're learning how to move to another state of mind. You're learning how, instead of reacting from any kind of negative experience within you, to pause, to have a holy pause, and to know that you prefer to have peace and harmony and healing. And so you're practicing that awareness of oneness, that everything is sacred and worthy of forgiveness, allowing it to be what it is. Blessing, being at peace. And the Course in Miracles will go on to speak in this way even more directly to this idea of the holy instant. The holy instant is this instant, right here, right now, and every instant, wherever it is. The one you want it to be is there for you if you're open to it. The one you would not have it be is lost to you. And it all has to do with whether or not, listen very carefully, it all has to do with one hurdle. It all has to do with whether you still want to get your own way. So A Course in Miracles will speak to it this way. Can we have this next PowerPoint, please? The reason this course is simple is that truth is simple. Complexity is of the ego and is nothing more than the ego's attempt to obscure the obvious. You could live forever in the holy instant, beginning now and reaching to eternity, but for a very simple reason. Do not obscure the simplicity of this reason, for if you do, it will be only because you prefer not to recognize it and not to let it go. The simple reason, simply stated, is this: the holy instant is a time in which you receive and give perfect communication. This means, however, that it is a time in which your mind is open both to receive and give. It is the recognition that all minds are in communication. It therefore seeks to change nothing, but merely to accept everything. How can you do this when you would prefer to have private thoughts and keep them? The only way you could do that would be to deny the perfect communication that makes the holy instant what it is. You can leave that up there for a moment. You see how all of this is actually speaking to the same issue. And it is the ego-centered initial state of consciousness that developed as we grew up and lived, collecting a set of beliefs and fears, desires and wants, some false information about what would make you happy. And Eckhart Tolle points it out, I point it out. Everybody has to just look at it honestly. You read the newspapers every day about people that seemingly have amassed a great amount of wealth, popularity, and prestige, and all that goes with the illusionary consciousness of happiness. And so many of them wind up in, drug rehabilitation centers, in some kind of terrible dire straits with other people, or in some kind of terrible situation where they decide to take their own life. What's missing there? Their ability to be present with life and the moment just as it is, which makes everything okay, beautiful, perfectly, harmoniously beautiful. So it takes practice to practice the presence of reality. And as you practice that, you'll find out that you'll see others differently. They will come across to you in a very different way. And the more you practice the presence of just being there, can you imagine doing what Jesus said? Can you imagine doing this? In this Western culture, all hell-bent on gaining prestige and personal winning. Can you imagine becoming the servant of every moment? That's what Jesus said. The disciples saying, who's the greatest among us? Who would be the greatest? Who will be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? He said, the greatest among you will be the servant of all. Selfless, flowing, allowing, blessing, being one with God. So we're going to practice the presence now by allowing ourselves to just become present. It should be fairly easy to be present here. There's not too much to worry about. Oh yeah, you missed seeing the phenomenal shirt. It would have done everything for you. How many of you are going to be back next week at 9 o'clock? Raise your hand to see the shirt. How many of you will never show up again? Okay, you better be here, because I think right now, I only need 9. I'm talking to you people that are watching this on the screen. Put down the chicken wings and beer and decide, you know what, I got to get dressed up, I got to go through that, and I got to get to Unity to see the miracle shirt. Okay? So I'll see you all then next week at 9 a.m. And right now we're going to listen to these beautiful bowls calibrated to help us become centered in this moment. And then when we get to that place of silence in this particular meditation, you may want to just use this idea as your mantra. Having no fearful separate self, with no desperate needs, only love is given, only love received. Having no fearful separate self, with no desperate needs, only love is given, only love received. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let's go forth with a greater practice of seeing the sacred, hearing the calling of the sacred in every relationship, under all circumstances. What would be sacred now? And for this opportunity in every moment, let us feel gratitude. And to this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. So you can give a physical offering if you like, or use the credit card dip jars. Those of you that are watching on screen, you can go down to that little tag, scroll down to it that says donations. It'll explain how you can donate to Unity of Boulder. So those of you watching on screen can bring to mind that financial gift you'd like to make to sustain this ministry. And those of you here, if you decide, can bring your gift into your hands. And we will bless these gifts with this offering prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. Amen. refreshments in Fellowship Hall if you want to stop in there. I'll be in there in a couple of minutes as soon as I get the brass bowls back in the office.